Indonesia is the fourth most populated country in the world. As a nation with over 270 million citizens, it's not surprising that Indonesia is the second largest food waste contributor in the world. According to the National Waste Management Information System from the Indonesian government, the country produces over 20 million tons of waste per year. 40% of that comes from food waste.
Based on a study by Codert et al., in terms of energy, the 344 million tons of consumer avoidable food are responsible for about 4 exajoules of wasted energy globally. This burden is equivalent to the electricity consumption of Germany and France combined. Food that is lost and wasted accounts for 38% of total energy usage in the global food system. Other than that, it accounts for 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And as we all know, greenhouse gases are the main contributor to global warming.
There are actually ways to reduce and repurpose food waste. You can adopt a healthier and more sustainable lifestyle. You can pick healthier recipes and make smaller portions of food. Buy only what you need and store food wisely. Your leftovers can also be utilized. One of the uses for leftovers is use them as a compost.
According to the NRDC, composting is the natural process of recycling organic matter, such as leaves and food waste, into fertilizer that can enrich soil and plants. How does that work? Compost is an acid and has a pH less than 7, and you will find that most natural soils are generally bases or alkalis. Meanwhile, fertile soil is ideally neutral. Inorganic or chemical fertilizers work fast because of the strong acidic chemicals it contains. However, using too much will make the soil too acidic and infertile, and it's difficult to return it to its original state. Acidic soil needs to be neutralized using basic or alkaline materials, and that can be done through processes such as liming, which is supplying calcium and magnesium-rich materials to the soil.
The development of strongly acidic soils less than 5.5 pH can result in poor plant growth due to too much aluminum and manganese and a deficiency of calcium and magnesium, as well as low levels of essential nutrients such as phosphorus. Meanwhile, alkaline soils will lack all the things acidic soils have too much of, and have too much of the things acidic soils don't have. Soils with an extremely high alkaline pH greater than 9 are likely to have high levels of sodium. Therefore, soils with a neutral pH are ideal because they have the nutrients that both types of soils can provide without the toxins. Compost also works as an electrolyte. An electrolyte is a medium containing ions that conducts electricity through the movement of those ions without conducting electrons on its own. Acidic materials contain hydrogen ions, while basic or alkaline materials have more hydroxide ions. Dissolved in water, these ions interact with the ions in water, which are hydrogen and hydroxide, and this process conducts electricity.
Adding electrolytes to plants boosts their metabolic processes such as photosynthesis and respiration. Electrolytes are transported through the plant through its water transport system, xylem and phloem.
The product is homemade compost or fertilizer named poopook.id. It's made from organic waste such as fruit peels, vegetable cobs, dried leaves, and other homemade waste. Through this, the students aim to help reduce the amount of organic waste in Indonesia, considering the fact that it makes up roughly 57% of the waste in Indonesia.
Product is a 300-gram sample of compost that has been left to decompose for over a year. The packaging contains information about the benefits of the compost, as well as how to make it yourself. To prove that it's easy to make, the group started making their own compost in the span of a few months. The 2-month-old compost has a pH of 2.26 and consistently conducts 0.11 to 0.12 volts of electricity. In their experiment, the electrodes were positioned 4 centimeters apart or connected by the electrolyte liquid of the compost. Research was done with the same parameters but with seawater as the electrolyte produced 0.06 volts. The seawater acted as a resistor of 50 ohms. The equation of voltage in volts equals current in amps times resistance in ohms. Assuming all the parameters in their experiment were the same as the parameters in the research, it can be assumed that our electrolyte acted as a resistor of roughly 100 ohms. That means there was a current of roughly 1.2 times 10 to negative 3 m's. So, it can be concluded that the electrolyte produced is 1.44 times 10 to negative 4 watts.
9 to 10 kilograms of organic waste was collected from the students' own households as well as fruit salad or rujak sellers in the area. One seller can produce around 7 kilograms of waste a day.
The waste is then given just a little bit of EM4, which is a solution containing many microorganisms that help the composition of the waste. Sugar is also added to the mixture to act as food for the microorganisms. EM4 isn't necessary, but it's very helpful to use microorganisms of any kind to help rot the waste. Soil is added as well, and the container is shut. Not only does shutting the container avoid any unwanted materials in the compost, but it also helps cover the putrid smell the compost gives during the composting process. After a year, the compost doesn't stink anymore. It turns into a gravel-like texture that is easily applicable to soil. Of course, there are simpler ways to make compost. Simply putting organic waste on the soil around your plants will also make it act as a fertilizer, but the composting process will take much longer. The group also wanted to encourage people to start gardening at home, so the container used was one of that could also be used as a plant pot.
They made an Instagram account for the project, hoping to reach more people about the simplicity of composting. The product was then presented to the churchgoers of GBI Eramas 2000. The churchgoers were from a variety of age ranges, many who most likely produce organic waste at home, like mothers and cooks. The aim was to inspire them through the product and presentation, and to get the public to start composting at home. Well, the reception was delightfully unexpected.
Small projects like the one the students did can actually inspire others to make their own compost and contribute in fighting global warming. The world is large, with over 7 billion inhabitants. But even through small actions such as composting and gardening at home, we can all play a part in taking care of our earth. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. We also hope that you learned something from all of this, especially the magic of compost. This is poopook.id signing out. Thank you very much. Goodbye!